Hello, wonderful and beautiful you. So, I'm going to light some incense. I'm going to try to find my lighter here. I'm going to light some incense. I'm going to light my favorite one, which didn't want to light last time. So, today, this morning, powerful day, and I have allowed myself to go with the flow this morning. So I'm sharing my experience as I'm sitting here with you. I guess I could have lit my incense before I started this. Give me a moment. This is taking a little while. These don't always light right. See if that worked. Fan it a little bit. There we go. Okay. Just lighting my favorite incense. Get good energy and send prayers to spirit and all of that through this. This has been a very tough few days in a very beautiful way, but also in a very spiritual way. It's been, the human, I like to think of this experience that I have on this earth, or that we have, maybe I have, is a spiritual one, the thing that we can't see, and then the physical one, which is the human side. I say my human is feeling this because the spiritual doesn't feel any of this. The spiritual just observes, and that's what all spirituality gears towards. Buddhism and all of those things, and Taoism, is to be one with God and with all of that. And I've been in a state of integration and recalibration in the past few days. So I guess I'll start off with that, because this is going to be the kind of introduction to the next couple of videos that I'm going to do, obviously, because it's becoming a very dominant part of my experience, becoming a very big part of it. So I went on a trip. I went down to Mexico, and I did this last year, and every time I go, there are only 2 times I've been, but both times I've gone, it's been different each time. It's a shamanic retreat, and the whole premise is we use plant spirits. If you're familiar with shamanism, or Western shamanisms, or Western's engagement with shamanism, and it's the use of plants and the spirits that are in those plants to help to awaken consciousness. And that's how I see it. Not that that's what they've said. And it is an experience that it's a collective, it's a group of people that get together, and it's different. It can be different each time. It's not always the same people. And we partake, and in this case, we used ayahuasca. And I kind of feel this weird discrepancy or something between the two, between my mind and my spirit when I talk about that, because I feel like I shouldn't talk about it. But then part of me is like, but you remember what that experience offers you, and you want to share that. And so that's the part of me that speaks up and just says, just do it, just rip the Band-Aid off, because you're not going to be able to do this otherwise. There's no way to talk about this in my awareness that isn't just talking about it. So here it is, I'm not here to talk about ayahuasca. I'm not an expert on it at all by any means, but it is a plant spirit that I resonate with, that works for me. And plant spirits are something that is a unique experience. Even if 20 people in a group all align with it, all resonate with it, it's not going to have the same input for each person. It's going to have a similar effect, I think you could kind of say, but we're not going to come out of that experience all having, oh, we all saw, and this is all what we all thought and all had. That's not at all what happens. They call ayahuasca in the tribes who use it medicine, and it is absolutely medicine. I got that very clearly the second time I did it. The first time I did it, I was just introducing myself, and that was the intent. Was just to do, one session in a very safe environment, and with no expectation, no real intention, just to say, I want to introduce myself. I want to experience you, have you experience me, and see if we harmonize. And I knew immediately after that was over with, yes, this is very good. And I knew I had just touched the tip of the iceberg. It was a very mild experience. My meditation came in wonderfully beneficial or helpful to me in that place. And all of a sudden I realized this is it. This is amazing. This is what I've been needing. And now that I've had a few more of these experiences under my belt, and in environments that the past 2 times I've done it have been very, very a wonderful, like they like to call it, a container. And it's a wonderful, thoroughly therapeutic and nurturing environment that really allows for each individual to really get into themselves and really open up. And it's beautiful and it's healing. In fact, somebody else and I agreed that a gentleman who was much older than me from a completely different country has had a completely different set of experience with the same plant that I've had. And we both agreed the experiences in that state are much more real than the material world. So if that gives you any idea, I've not heard anybody else say that, but I'm not going to say that it's too far-fetched to think many more people think this. It's a beautiful experience that really opens up what is inside, and I don't know how else to say that. So I am now, this most recent time was a full-on allowance, and I just like unfolded like a rose, and it was just beautiful and wonderful, truly beautiful and wonderful. And it was hard, but it was, I know the challenges that I face are ones that are already within me, and I'd much rather have this very healing environment in which to approach them, where I can just be free just to be spiritually, and my physical body no longer becomes a constraint. The limitations of the mind for me go away, and I can just be who I am, and it is the absolute purest state of being that I can possibly experience for myself. I'm a very emotionally centered person. I operate from the heart. This is very dominant traits that I've had for a long time, and I've only recently, in the past few years, begun to open up to that. So this has been a tough journey, a very tough journey, and I very much understand what my life experience in this episode, in this incarnation, is about. And I've known this for a while, that without any need of plant, of anything, and no one told me this for sure, but it's that I'm in this place now in order to experience and in order to as it were, shed my karma, my karmic residue. And it's very emotional. It's stressful. It's hard. But it's the most beautiful awareness that I gain as a result of my efforts. There is no amount of effort that I've made towards my spiritual evolution that hasn't been of utmost effect and importance to me. And when they say that ayahuasca could heal the world, I truly understand what it means. It's just that not everyone is in the lifetime or in a place where they can accept that help. because we all have to go through different episodes of our evolution through our lifetimes. And I'm speaking, of course, to reincarnation. So if you're confused as to my reference, that's what I'm referring to. I firmly believe in reincarnation. It's not even an opinion. So if you have a different opinion on that, I leave you to it. For we all stand in the place that we need to be standing. But I'm just here to share my experiences and what my awarenesses have come into. And I've seen, somebody told me a year ago that I was like a well of something coming out of the ground, of energy. And she made it seem very positive. And I don't want to be a water source for people. I don't want to be, a place for people to come get their cup refilled, because that's not my role. But I did realize that it's something that people can feel. And when I speak to that radiance, that energy that comes forth, because I can feel it all the time. It's always there. It's always there. It's always there. When I speak from that place, it seems to help others. And people, it's not that it's something I have. It's not my knowledge. It is simply that I've come to an awareness of something, and I've woken up to it. And that is important for me to share with others, because not everybody has woken up to that or had the opportunity to come to that point for themselves. Also, that they sometimes, and I know for a fact that people need to hear the same thing repeated in different ways over and over and over again and over again and over again, repeatedly, sometimes before they'll even hear it once. And it's almost like the deeper part of ourselves can't respond yet, because it's like you're very delicately chipping away layers, and it's just chipping away and chipping away, and it's just uncovering it. It's wiping it clean, as it were. Maybe that's probably a better analogy. Just wiping it clean and wiping it clean. But you have to buff it. It takes a while. It takes some effort. Because what's underneath that is the greatest gift of relief you can find. And once you get to that bottom layer, it's gone. It's like it just turns back into like a little angel and just flies away. It turns back into energy. And this is where I believe the idea of alchemy comes from. We take energy that's been stored and knotted up and inside of us, and we eventually get to that point where we can say, it's all right, I have you, I'm here to protect you, and you don't have to be afraid anymore. And then that experience, however it comes forth physically, in thoughts or emotions, our senses are all coming into play with that once we're able to get through it and process it, however it needs to be processed, it goes away. And it's no longer our identity. These karmic things, I think, are how we identify ourselves. And that's what I am speaking to. The topic that really was on my mind this morning, like to the point of it being like, I'm done, I don't want any more, was women's position and perspective, and how we are in society, Western society specifically. That I woke up having intense feelings around this morning. And I'm challenging my own position in association with things that I hate the word, because I don't want to think that that's who I am, but I've conformed to. I've followed, I've agreed to, and as I began to pull back layers, I found more of them, and more of them, and more of them. It was like a Pandora's box. I was like, oh man, So I thought, I have to talk about this. I have to talk about this. It is a form of, it's therapeutic for me to talk about this and bring this to other people, because it is something that I go, good, this can probably help someone else. But it's also because I need to hear my own message being spoken by me. I am my own reminder when I say these things. So when I write, when I blog things or put things in social media, it's almost always, if not 100% of the time, it's just so that I can receive that message again. Because in that moment, I need to tell myself that. And it has to be done in a very, kind of abstract way. I can't say it directly to myself or with an intention behind it. So I have to aim it at other people. I have to say, this is for you, and the you is me, if you believe in the Tao. We are all one. We all come from the same source. And so when I speak to others, I'm speaking to myself. And it's absolutely true, because you hear your own words. So it's not really a metaphor. It really is a very physical interaction you're having with yourself when you speak words. And that's why the words you speak and the choices you make are so important, because it may seem like, oh, this doesn't matter today, but it will. It'll affect how you see yourself. It'll affect how you see and relate to others, which in turn affects you further down the line, because it's almost like this, you can see the karma kind of building up in that way. Just it's a very quick representation example of it. And that is why I do this. That is why I do this. That's why I feel the absolute need to do this. And I've had to really be in my experience of it, because I don't know if I'm it's not right, because the things that I come to are not an exclusive truth of mine. It's not reserved for me. And I feel it's universal, so I know it's a truth, as I like to just call them, as truths. Everyone gets this. This is what everyone can have. We all can be free. We all can be liberated. We all can be, fluid. We don't have to be, stuck and conformed and boxed in. So the experience that I came to this morning was around women and how women, in society. And I don't even really know where it started. It started years ago, of course, but I don't really know where this whole experience started. And I realized that I probably am going to approach rather controversial subject matters that might not be agreed upon by everyone, but I realize is that if overall there is something I can say that benefits someone, then the details of how I express it or how I see it aren't of concern. Because I'm not here to manipulate anyone or bend anyone to my will or to get any sort of result from people. I have no agenda. I have no expectation. I have no demand. I guess the only hope I have is that people can be free to just exist and to experience all that life is. We as human beings deal with so much suffering on the earthly plane. We don't need any more. We're good. We're good. I promise you. If you were to erase all of your pressures from family and friends and society, you would still have a whole bank of shit to have to dig out. I promise you that, because I've purged myself of the people, and it's still there. It's still there. It's just less of the surface stuff that distracts me from it. I will say that one of the side effects of my hair's falling down. One of the side effects, I guess I'll touch on this. My dreads just went crazy while I was in Mexico, because the salt water and all that was fabulous for them, but I have this huge part right here that doesn't want to conform. It doesn't want to play nicely, so I'm trying to keep the front loose, as you can tell. There you go. Maybe, I don't know. It just looks real scraggly right now because my dreads are really young still, so they're starting to thicken up, and it's a messy, messy, messy process, as I've begun to realize. But this is all part of my identity being shed and coming into my own and being more in connection to the spiritual aspect of my life, and being in the feminine energy, which is my incarnation right now, which is a woman. And I woke up this morning having a very terrible dream of something that was so familiar to me for a while. I had been, for a while, to get a little bit backstory on this, I had been going to a women's doctor who they were doing research studies, and I decided, okay, for women's health and women's, wellness, I'll do this, okay. And I did, except that even though nothing had, I don't know how to put this, I had basically a situation where I was being told intermittently that something was wrong with me during the appointments, and then I'd come back, I'd be fine. It happened again and again and again. I think total probably 3 times. But this became very traumatic for me. And I had women doctors, I had women nurses. There was only women in this office, women treating women. It was a very large group of women. It was a large group of doctors that this office ran by. And I had thought I was in the care of women who cared for me. And when I first went there, the first doctor I went to was the best female doctor I've ever been to. She was genuinely had a wonderful bedside manner. She was very patient. She was very kind. And then she moved. Her husband's job took her somewhere else, and she moved. And it wasn't until years later that I realized how much I missed her. It took me years to finally, in fact, probably until just recently, to finally fully flesh out what was going on. And it all of a sudden put into very stark context what women have to deal with in society. And the experience of women taking advantage of other women is painful in its deepest sense, because women want to trust other women, and in fact women are more likely to trust women inherently just because of them being feminine and female. But how often have us as females not been able to trust women because they're so untrustworthy? Well, what is it that makes women untrustworthy, And I came upon the notion this morning after this basic nightmare, it's a very emotive dream that I was having, one that very much incites an emotional reaction. And it was about how I had been taken advantage of in a situation where I was of my utmost vulnerability. And I take great pride in not being vulnerable unnecessarily. I know where my limits are, and I know where people like to dig in. There are people who exist to expose other people's vulnerabilities and to poke and prod at them, which is very unfortunate, but it is what it is. And sorry, I'm trying to correct my white balance in here. I think the light's reflecting off of surfaces and making funny shades of color. So when I sat and was with it, I began to realize that I was very angry at these doctors for the way they had treated me, because I thought they were looking after me, and it was only because of one nurse in the office that I realized, by contrast, what was really probably going on. They weren't doing it consciously, I'm very sure of that, but it's almost like they couldn't handle the almost oppression on them, and so they took it out on somebody else, took it out on another woman. And I've seen this time and time again. And it's a very, very unfortunate circumstance. And it's the side effect of the society at large's perspective on how women should be. So I've been having to really harness in my consciousness and my thoughts and my mind, because the experience I went to Mexico to have worked, and now this is my homework, as it were. is to tackle, is to embark, and not tackle, I don't even want to say that word, it doesn't sound nice, but I want to, I have to go into my experience, the challenges that I face, and allow awareness into them, and not shut them down, and not cover them over, and try to make it okay, because it doesn't have to be okay. This is really hard. I think I'm just going to talk about something a certain way, and then I get to the point where I'm talking about it and it's not even a thing. I can't even focus the thought because it's so abstract. The little things in society, so I guess I can get to the point of what it is that I'm talking about, so maybe this will create an understanding instead of the abstract, which seems to be a lot of where my brain is right now. The perspective that women should shave their legs, should shave their arms, shouldn't have facial hair, even if it's not dark, that the way that women's bodies should look is a very obvious one. But women don't realize, they go, oh, I want to shave my legs. Okay, that's totally a thing. I leave people to their choices. I'm not saying women should do or say or be or anything. But if you think about it, have you ever thought, I just want to go to the beach and not have to shave my bikini line? And you don't, because you don't shave your bikini line, or you didn't, or you didn't get it waxed, or you didn't do whatever. That right there is the conformity. That's the inability to express and be the individual outside of the norm. Because if you were to go to the beach and you weren't to shave, what would happen, right? That's conformity. That is not benefiting anyone. Who does that benefit? That doesn't benefit the woman who does it. It doesn't benefit the society that observes her. And that is where the pain of our experience comes through. When you just want to do something and you can't because of some outside pressure that you can't identify, tells you that's how you should do. That is the thing. And it's a very general topic, and I'm sure there's 100 ways that this could be represented and displayed. The big one, of course, is children, having children. And I've heard some vile comments from people, and mostly men, about women's role in society and having children. Vile in the sense that they truly believe that women are just an object and just the subject of, and not independent, free-form thinkers. That causes me physical pain to even hear people say those things, because it's based out of nothing but ignorance, and it tells me where they are in their own evolution. Unfortunately, as far as I'm beginning to start to understand, is that we all have to go through various stages of evolution, and one of them resides in dogma. That part I didn't expect, and I was wondering how people in society can be that way. And dogma is the adherence to a belief without any thought or question. And it's the rhetoric, it's the rules of something. You know, religion has a lot of dogma. Gender roles have a lot of dogma to it. The way genders are supposed to be. Men are supposed to be masculine, women are supposed to be feminine. And the great sexual gender revolution that's occurring right now, I'm very thankful for, because I actually find solace in that. I wish it was a revolution for women specifically, but it's starting to happen. As I expose myself more and more, especially on YouTube. Really, YouTube is a wonderful, wonderful avenue for this. I find more people and more women who realize their identity isn't in their physical body. That they're feminine, that they're a woman, but it's not that they shave their legs, or that they have their hair a certain way, or that they wear makeup, or that they have children, or that they wear certain kinds of clothes, or that they are hypersexualized. You know, it's none of those are things that they adhere to, because they realize that it takes a lot of time and effort to do those things. My approach to this has just been convenience. I wasn't trying to change the world. I wasn't trying to break conformity or break the rules. But what it came down to is I realized by my own actions and by my own choices, I'm doing that. And these are things that may seem benign, but when I make those choices, every time I change a modality or I change an automatic response to something, which to me, automatic just means you turned off your brain, and instead I make conscious choices each time, I'm finding healing occurring. And it's because it's not, oh, it's just you have, this, or you just have that, like your hair looks like that now, or you just dress like this now. Oh, what's the big deal? It's because it's something that can be so subtle, and then that's the thing that our subconscious responds to, that our wellness and our heart responds to. It's the subtlety of our actions and our choices and the things that we say. And so this is a very big picture that really has a very simple answer. It's just the hardest thing to do, because especially Western modern society has been very geared towards very obvious, very upfront, very vocalized, very stated things. And women finding their identity in being very loud, being very bright, being very big, that's one way. Women can completely exist in a very quiet, almost like a butterfly manner, where we do as we do, and we float through the air, and we touch upon those that we encounter, those that feel connection to us, those who hear our words and resonate with that and find some part of them in that and find healing in that experience. And that is the thing that I'm beginning to understand. Is I've always been the loud, out there, noticeable person in a room, and I might still be noticed, but it's that I do it in a way that's more for me and less for them. I'm not a clown, I'm not a circus performer, I'm not on stage, so I'm not performing for people. Instead, I'm speaking to myself. I'm acting in a way for myself. And as I continue to do these things, the more connected I feel to myself, and the more healing that occurs, and the better I feel. Because as I said, I'm going this karmic shoveling out, just shoveling it out. And I'm waiting for it to, for stuff to come up that I don't want to deal with that. But I know I'd rather deal with it consciously, by choice, right now, than pretend it's not there and just suffer and not know why. It's not about getting rid of it or getting it out or, whatever. It's about allowing. It's about allowing. So, I hope that this video makes sense on some level. Apparently, I make more sense to people than I think I do, so that's this is definitely a test of my rewiring in my brain. Like I mentioned before, made some major consciousness expansion. I think it was like a tenfold expansion this time for me. So my physical self is having to reintegrate that, and it's a huge undertaking, a huge task. So yeah. So that's where it is today. That is where it is today. And I hope some part of this has found you well, and that this is something that you needed, and that this helped you. When I went and looked for things about women and trying to find anything that spoke to this, I had a hard time. So I thought, I was like, I have to make something. I have to try, because I love people. I love people, and people are wonderful. We're the coolest thing ever, and I want to help. And I want to be that little light in the darkness. So I hope this finds you well. Thank you for joining me. Namaste, lovely. Have a beautiful, beautiful day in all that you experience.